Welcome to the Enduro Method podcast. Enduro Method is an online strength and conditioning program built for those who ride by those who ride. We are professional coaches dedicated to building the best and most revolutionary off-the-bike training for dirt bikers around. We are offering a special discount for our podcast listeners. Use discount code EMPodcast22 for 50% off your first month. For more information, head to the description of this podcast where you can find the discount code and a link for more information and to sign up.
All right, and we're live. Here with Justin Leineweber, and he's been, what would you call your role for King of Motos for the last couple of years?
So King of the Motos race director.
Race director.
2020, 2021, and then again now in 2023.
Awesome. Well, before we get into the King of Motos, let's maybe give a little bit of your background, how you got into riding, and then how you definitely got into being a race director.
All right. Well, I started riding when I was 5 years old. I come from a two-wheel racing legacy family, so to speak. My dad was one of the pioneers in early drag racing. He did the AMA circuit back in the day that included road racing and flat track, when it had TTs in it and all that fun stuff. And then we moved out to Johnson Valley, and he pioneered a lot of the trails, not out in the Hammers, but the other side of the valley. And then when I was old enough to start riding, I started riding those trails. I got into Hammers in 2013, I think, was the first Motos, or 2012 was the first King of the Motos. And I went out and I watched Graham Jarvis and Destry Abbott, who was my childhood hero, living out in the desert out here on his KX. He was on a KX 450 that day, but I watched him growing up on the KX 500. And I said, well, I'm going to come do that next year. And so I showed up, I think it was in 13 on a KX 500. And I'll never forget, quick little side story. I'm standing there. There's a guy in a Kawasaki jacket, and I start talking to him. And I go, hey, what would you run for tire pressure? And what would you do this? And what would you do that? And he's just kind of, looking at me. And he's like, what are you riding? And I said, KX 500. He said, yeah, you're crazy. And he just walked away. It turns out it was Larry Rossler. And I got a quick history lesson on who Larry was and stuff. But then I raced it on and off for years on the KX 250F with Kawasaki. Their R&D and parts side, they were able to loan me a bike, and I got to race it, and I really got into it. So with that, every year that I kind of had an injury or wasn't ready to race, I would help out Jimmy, Jimmy Lewis, the founder of King of the Motos. And so doing that led into just helping him more and more over the years. And then when he was done with it, he was just, ready to move on to his next thing. I bugged Dave Cole, the owner of King of the Hammers, for about a year to let me come back and put on Motos. And he's gracious enough to let us come back in 2020 and be part of the, the massive King of the Hammers week that's grown to be just this, what do they call it? The Burning Man of off-roading. So the fact that we get to bring the bikes here and kind of be a part of that's pretty cool. And brought it back at 2021, and then took a year off in 22, and now we're back in 23.
Awesome. Yeah, it really is. I kind of had an idea. I thought of what to expect the first year coming out. I was just blown away.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense, like, to be there and then to see what those crawlers can do too. It's insane.
Yeah, to see them go up the same trails in the Hammers that we do, and then you talk to them and you're like, holy smokes, you guys are going up that in a big car. And then they look at us, holy smokes, how the heck are you guys doing this on a bike?
Right.
So it's a cool clashing of worlds that it really brings recognition to both sides. So it's a cool experience.
Yeah. What does this year look like from format perspective?
So this year's format, we've got Saturday morning. Friday, we're going to have the riders meeting about 7 p.m. The big tent, like always. Starting at noon on Friday, you can come in and get the GPS tracks and tracker. We'll be using the yellow brick trackers like we did in 20. Just helps us keep an eye on everybody for safety. There's a safety button on them, and also for any course deviations. So following Friday night, we'll start off Saturday morning. We'll have a one at a time prologue. It'll be about 2 miles long, just outside of Hammertown. So we'll use their start finish gate. It'll be fun. It's going to be more challenging than the previous short prologue I put on. But at most of these hard enduro races we go to, it's the promoters do a really good job of having that prologue to set us up for start gate. But a lot of times it has to be close, has to be short. And so in that, it kind of becomes sort of easy, like a desert loop. So I kind of took that. I'm about half desert loop on that. And then the last half of it's pretty technical. So it should really set the starting gate for the afternoon race on Saturday, more in the mind of how the hard enduro races, should line up. So that'll hopefully alleviate some of the, bottlenecks. I don't really have too many areas that I'm worried about, but I'm hoping that'll be part of it. So it brings us to Saturday, race 2. It's going to be about 12 miles. Again, we'll have a remote start pretty close to Hammertown for spectators and ease of access. And then we'll finish inside Hammertown using their finish line. Nice. And I don't want to give away too much because, the course is a secret and all you guys come out here and hunt for my tracks. But it's going to be a good second race.
Is it like as many laps as possible, or is it just one and done on that?
Just one and done. I'm estimating the pros will do it in I'm always wrong, but I want to say 45 minutes will be a pro. And then, down through the classes, it's got a 3-hour time limit.
Okay.
So we'll see. And we have 3 checkpoints. And so everybody will make a check for sure. And everybody goes on to Sunday. And so the way it works is Saturday morning, set your starting position for Saturday night. Yeah. Or Saturday afternoon, and that sets your starting position for Sunday. Okay. So everybody gets to race the whole weekend. You get your money's worth. You get to ride and race as much as you can possibly do. Sunday, we'll start out. I blanking on the schedule start time, but I think it's 9 a.m. Yeah, it's 9 a.m. We run for 6 hours. Lap 1 will be what is it? I've got 2 different distances here. Lap 1 is 12 miles, and lap 2 will be 13 and a half. Lap 1 will have 3 checkpoints, and lap 2 will have 4. And I've incorporated some rock trails that we're all used to, and there's no desert valley crossings at all. Oh, so, okay. Wow. Yeah, the loops between, or the transitions between the rock trails are going to be, just more rock trails, but ones we're not used to, or difficult single track. So I'm pretty excited about that. Loop 1 will probably weed out 50 to 80% of the riders. And then lap 2, I'm hoping to have about, I don't know. I don't even want to really guess. I just want you guys to come out and enjoy it, because from check 4 to the finish is all new to what Motos have done. And it's probably the hardest thing out here I've ever ridden.
Awesome.
So it's exciting.
So is lap 1 and lap 2 running off of the same track at all, or is it completely new terrain?
So lap 1 will be, lap 2 will use about 70 to 80% of lap 1.
Okay, so it kind of just has hard offshoots and then come back on kind of thing and cruise around.
No, I don't. That's really hard to manage. You have to have someone sitting there at every offshoot. So what I did is just check 3, you take a right for lap 1. Check 3, you go straight for lap 2 to check 4. And then from check 3, essentially, to the finish is going to be different.
All new trail.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet. That sounds fun.
Yep.
Is it so it's much more because I'm like from 20 to 21, 20 had a bunch of kind of separate single track that was off the main chute, so like King of the Hammers, and then 21 was a little bit more up and down the canyons and stuff like that. So this is kind of going back more to 20.
No, I would say it's like 21 with the rock canyons, with just more of that, more difficulty than 21.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, in 20 we had like valley crossings, so it was just a full on marathon race all day long.
Right.
But 21 we kind of had a shorter loop that was more difficult, and now 22 is again the shorter loop that's difficult.
Sweet. Yeah, those valley crossings were funny because it was my first year racing with a GPS, and I think I had my backlight super low because I was like worried about battery life for some silly reason. And so I could never see the screen without, literally taking my hands like this in the visor and shutting my bike off. And like you'd be ripping through and there's just little offshoots that were everywhere. And I'd be like, oh, I'm still on the main track. I see tracks. And I look down, I'm 300 feet to the right and just have to stop, backtrack, get back on. It was pretty funny. I was like, well, that was a mistake. Lesson learned on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. We're GPS again this year, kind of tying into what you're talking about. And I get this question quite often is what's the two best GPS units I recommend? And I like the Trailtech Voyager and the Garmin eTrex series. So that's the two I recommend. If you get the eTrex, it's easy to go with a double setup on that. The Garmin Trailtech, I've never really needed a double, even making the course. I could toggle between close and far pretty easy on that thing, and it works good. So
yeah, and then from there, for those that are maybe never used it before, you just come in with a clear GPS unit, get the tracks uploaded, figure out how to get them on your screen.
Yeah.
Pick a good color.
Yeah, turn it up. Carry batteries if you're worried about it, but have the backlight about mid to all the way. The trail techs you can plug into the bike. That's a part I like about them. You hardwire it in, so you're running off your battery all day. But yeah, what you need to know, we'll get them loaded on. Come with an empty micro USB for the trail tech and an empty Garmin for the Garmin side. We plug it in. We give you all 4 tracks, right? So prologue, race 1, and then race 2, lap 1, lap 2. So it's 4 separate tracks. Know how to turn on a track and know how to turn off a track. It's really important, and you want to be able to turn your track log on. And it's a good thing to have your track log on, I've always found, but a different shade of color, which you can do on both. So that way, if you do get off track, you can kind of follow your own track back to the main track.
Right.
But track log's huge because if you come in and you didn't have that on and someone said you cut course, I have to side with that someone else. But if you had your track log on, I just go look at it and said, no, they did the canyon right. We're good to go. So yeah, track log is important.
Right. Are there going to be any course markings?
Yeah, we will do the Hammers course markings, which is a red background with a white arrow. We're going to tie in some of the U.S. hard enduro markings so that it stays consistent throughout the whole season for you guys. But due to the Hammers and GPS, we're definitely only going to be using them. And maybe if there's a technically dangerous spot or, maybe a super confusing X or something, I don't want you guys having to sit there and figure it out on your GPS. I want you to be able to stay riding. So that's where your course markings will show up.
Awesome. What do the classes look like? As far as
go ahead.
Oh, just if you're doing just amateur and pro, or are you doing CBA, women's, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we're the first round of the U.S. Hard Enduro Series, and also the first round of their Premier Championship. So falling in line with them, we were able to bring in. We got pro men, with a $15,000 overall purse, pro women with a $5,000 overall purse, amateur women, and then we got your amateur A, B, C, 45 plus, and youth lights. And I've heard through the grapevine that Matt and the U.S. Hard Enduro team have seen the need for maybe a 40 expert class. I don't know the exact way they're going to title it yet, but they'll be taking care of splitting up the 45 class at the race. So you don't have to worry about, changing your sign up or anything. We'll just take care of it with the scoring team right when you register. It'll be pretty seamless. So,
Right.
So yeah, that's what we're looking at. We got pretty good signups. Right now we're just over, I think, 120 signed up, and I'm looking for that number to climb. Dates to remember for registration and signups, that kind of stuff, is January 15th. The price goes up another $50. So when we started, we were 200 for amateur, 300 for pro. And at January, can't remember when it went up exactly. I think it was December 15th. It went up 50. And then January 15th, it'll go up 50. And then January 25th, we close registration. So good dates to remember.
So what would you say to those amateurs that might be out on the fence a little bit, maybe a little intimidated from some of the media footage they've seen over the years or any of that?
I would say we've all been there, right? So none of us knew when we were coming to our first King of the Motos what to expect. I showed up on a KX 500 and I made it 12 miles on Jimmy Lewis's track. And, I made it 12 miles. Like, that was big. And if you're on the fence about coming or not, once you come out, you'll get hooked. And I've set it up so that Saturday is doable for everybody, and Sunday lap one, it's going to be a feat to finish. I don't think anybody wants to come out here and be like, "Oh man, that was easy," right? So you want to, if it takes you all 6 hours but you finish, you're going to be proud of that lap one finish. And for the guys that do lap one and lap two on Sunday, it's going to be your pros are going to blow us all away. They do every race. Nothing I can do about that.
Right.
But it's going to be a lot of fun, and just the atmosphere and the coverage that you get with King of the Hammers. It's just all in all a really awesome experience.
Yeah, I remember in 20, same thing. I'm here in Idaho, so we don't have that kind of terrain that often, and but going out and doing it, and yeah, it was really fun. I mean, it was challenging, obviously, but also doable. The cool thing about those big canyons is there's like 20 lines through there.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the races I feel like, with the exception of a couple spots, I think on the single track that I remember, there's not really ever an issue of bottlenecks, just because there's a way around almost anybody at any time.
Yeah.
It's just where you're willing to try and go.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really cool part of the desert. We have the 25 either side of the course deviation that we allow. And out here, you're not battling through vines and roots and trees and stuff like you would at a different race, where it just becomes an impossible feat unless you have a chainsaw. Out here, you just start pushing your bike. You can go up anything.
Having ridden out there, what kind of tire setup, or do you got any tips on that for people?
Yeah. So I run the Bridgestone E50X, which is like their gummy FIM tire. It's a 140 by, oh man, I'm going to get in trouble for not knowing this. 140 by 80, I think.
Sounds right.
And yeah, it's a really good tire for out here. The IRC tires are really good. You've got your VE33, which is kind of, the best of both worlds. If you're looking for a little bit more gummy, JX8, I've ran all those out here. I've never been disappointed. The JX8 might wear out a little bit faster, kind of like the Kenda Ibex is still another good comparable tire that, it's just all about how much you spin the tire, really. Is, definitely want tubeless, 2 pounds, or a moose, a nice soft moose bib. Yeah, that'll set you up, and lots of skid plate, swing arm guards if you can get them, hand guards, all that good stuff.
What do you got? What are you most excited about with this year compared to maybe the two previous from your experience?
Just building on what we've done has been huge. I'm excited to build on the knowledge of the last two races. Me and the team have tried to put together a better schedule for you guys. Being on a weekend, part of Hammers on a weekend is huge to get that spot and be able to have their production crews on board, get the coverage from them, and continue building. So that's what I'm excited about: a sustainable platform to keep building the race and get it where it needs to be out here.
So is it 4 weeks away from this weekend?
No, it's the fourth weekend, but I have 3 full weeks left.
3 full weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
3 weeks from this weekend.
Yeah.
What would you see? It's not a whole lot of time, but as far as getting people, what should people be doing and prepping for a little bit training wise? I mean, from previous years being in snow here, one of the years was more or less off the couch and it hurt. I remember sitting in one of those canyons and I came to a stop and shoot, who was it? I think it was Joe Namath rolled up right behind me and we both looked at each other and I'm like, go ahead. And he's like, no, you go. And I was like, no, go ahead. And then I never saw him again. But what should people start doing now? I mean, getting as much seat time as possible, running. What do you think?
I think cardio is huge. That's the one thing I struggle with probably the most is cardio and just overall fatigue towards the middle of the day. So make sure your preps, make sure your diet's on point. Have your salt pills or your hammer packets or whatever you need to get through if you think it's going to take you 6 hours, then you need to have stuff to make it through the 6 hours. One thing I didn't mention is there's going to be a gas pit stop between the laps at the start finish line. Very well marked. No one will miss it. And it's it's self-serve, we'll say, no outside assistance. So you'll have your gas cans set up there in the morning. And then you need to maybe have your hammer packets or your salt pills or extra water, with your gas cans so you're ready to go. But yeah, definitely, just overall, seat time is huge, but work on your cardio. Because that's when you're pushing the bike up, the fifth canyon, and your heart's beating 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then you start cramping, and it's just over. So that's what I say is cardio.
Yeah, 6 hours is a long time.
Yep. Oh, look at that. We got the cat on camera.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what I get for doing this in my living room. I swear I planned and everything, and then like last minute I was like, oh no, where did I set up the computer?
Oh, good. Yeah, so you will be able to have food, extra camel pack or hydration or whatever with your gas can at the pit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Can you think of anything else?
I'll just touch on a couple quick points. If you're coming as a spectator with a racer, racers get their wristband this year included in their racer entry. So, but if you're bringing wife and kids over 12, kids under 12 are free, but over 12, it's right now the price I think is about $37.50 because it just went up from 25. They do a tiered process and everything for hammers as we get closer. So I think it's $37.50 a person. Go on kingthehammers.com, buy those. If you're planning on camping, period, on the lake bed, anytime after if you've been here before, it's like a 4-mile dirt road to a gate before you get to the lake bed. And that's where they check your tickets. And if you're planning on camping anywhere past that, you need to buy a camping pass. So camping pass, spectator tickets, get them quick. Again, I think it's January 15th they go up. You don't want to miss that. For the 3-day Moto pass on the lake bed at the gate, it'll be $50 a person. So saving quite a bit, getting them early. And if you want to stay for all hammers after that, the rest of the 14 days of trophy trucks and rock crawling and rock bouncing and all that crazy stuff, their tickets are, I think, 75, which it includes motos. Or you can trade in your motos 3-day pass if you decide to stay later, and they'll give you a discount at the gate for the full ticket. So that's a big one. Camping pass, spectator passes, and just bike prep and body prep.
Yeah. And it's mostly for camping, first come, first serve, right? Just kind of roll in, find a spot.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have a kind of a section of Hammertown. So once you get in the gate, it's all open, everything. And then once you get on the lake bed, from previous years, they have the gated area where all the vendors and all that kind of stuff, where the jumbotron and all that. We'll actually have a little section right in the first gate for motos camping, but that will be like when it's full, and then you'll be outside the gated area,
right?
Which will still be not as packed because we're the first weekend at Hammers, and then after we leave, most of the big car teams and them that are racing trophy trucks and stuff will be coming in.
Okay.
So
awesome. Well, really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully this helps get some folks to sign up, maybe who are on the fence, or get some info out there about it.
A quick shout out to SRT, or they're the title sponsor of King of the Motos this year. So the correct way to say all that is the SRT King of the Motos, first round of the AMA US Hard Enduro Series. So I'm excited. Looking forward to seeing everybody, getting the racing family back together and having a fun weekend.
Yeah. And if anybody's got any questions or anything, and where can they see some info put out on social media and stuff?
So I'm free anytime. You can hit me up on KOM Justin72 on Instagram. The King of the Motos Facebook page, I answer all the messages on there. We'll be getting an email with the complete format, the GPX appendix, the race mileages, all that stuff, the schedule. We'll be getting that email out to you guys later this week. And then once we get that out, we'll be plastered on social media and on the King of the Hammers site under what are they calling it? Oh, it'll be on the King of the Hammers site under news. So you'll be able to catch up on anything motos right there.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Great. Well, really appreciate it. And yeah, looking forward to getting out there and doing some racing.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it as well. Should be a good time.